This is the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. Our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm your host, Matthew McDill, and I want to welcome again our new co-host for the second time. That's not new, I guess. TS and Smack, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So tell us what we're going to do today.
So today we have another great show planned. We're going to look at our homeschool news and talk about the exciting news about the Thrive Homeschool Conference. You don't want to miss it. And then we're going to have Homeschool Conversations, and we get to explore the other part of your conversation with Joyce Burges, the founder of the National Black Home Educators. We are going to have a Homeschool Reality Moment where we will get to hear from Luz Velasquez, our other multicultural liaison, about why her involvement with NCHE has been so important to her. And then we're going to have a special segment where we get to explore further how NCHE is working to help support multicultural families.
Great. So hitting the news then, we're going to talk about the conference, Thrive, the NCHE Homeschool Conference, which has always been one of my very favorite things. Whenever I tell my story, my homeschool story, it starts with Thrive. Okay. I mean, that's how it started. It wasn't called Thrive then even, but I went the very first year we ever even thought about homeschooling, and we've never missed for the last, it'll be 17 years coming up now. And so here's the news, and that is registration is open. Yay. So this month in January, we're opening registration. And so you can now go to nche.com/thrive and register for the conference. And the dates are May 26th through the 28th of this year, 2022. We're excited to have another one. We were so excited to have one last time after we had to skip in 2020. So we're just rebuilding the excitement of getting back into the swing of things. We meet in Winston-Salem at the Benton Convention Center. And we have a great lineup of speakers. Just want to mention those to you. We have Rachel Carmen, Derek and Cheryl Carter, Mike Donnelly, Dr. Kathy Cook, Dr. Jeff Myers, and Rebecca Spooner. So hopefully you know some of those and you want to make sure that you come hear them. There's a huge vendor hall. There's a children's program. There's a teen track where they have their own workshops and activities. We have regional gatherings. We have a college fair. We have homeschool mentoring. And we're going to talk about this. We have a multicultural meetup at the conference. So we're excited to tell you a lot more about that. So go ahead and check out the webpage, nche.com/thrive. Find out what's going to happen and go ahead and get yourself registered. And you can do it now with the early bird prices.
Absolutely. Yeah, same here. As soon as I knew I was going to homeschool, I went to the Thrive Conference. Met some people. That's how I met my co-op. And truly, if I didn't go to the Thrive Conference, I would not have any of the homeschool community that I have now. So you absolutely don't want to miss it.
Great.
And then so now we're going to listen to another portion of your interview with Joyce Burges, the founder of the National Black Home Educators. And they talked at the Homeschool Leaders Conference hosted by the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. So we're going to watch that now.
So tell me a little bit about National Black Home Educators.
Well, the National Black Home Educators was formed in July 2000. My husband and I founded the organization to target African Americans with the option of homeschooling. Our motto is to empower parents to educate their children for excellence. And so before I move on, I would say that excellence, according to Joyce Burges' opinion, is defined as outstanding, impeccable. You know, just something that we just don't settle for lowering our standards. And I'm talking about excellence biblically, excellence as a family, excellence as our traditional moral values are concerned, because children will test your standards, and of course outside of the world, outside of your family, you're going to be tested. So our standards need to stay high. So we target African Americans with the option of homeschooling, empowering parents to teach their children for excellence. But we're not exclusive, because a lot of our families are non-blacks. We have whites, we have Hispanics, we have Filipino. We just want everyone to feel welcome, because in the Black heritage, there's so much rich diversity. You know, I was born in Louisiana. So having born in Louisiana, it is so hard for me to go somewhere and find food. You know, once you're born in Louisiana, you usually have a Cajun tongue.
Yeah.
And so there's so much rich heritage in the black culture. I grew up, you know, with my grandmother, my mom, and my aunts all cooking that really good gumbo, red beans and rice, jambalaya, all that good food. And so we have the same thing with contributors, African American content from Mary McLeod Bethune and Charlotte Hawkins Brown and Frederick Douglass, John R. Lynch. All of these amazing people have contributed to this country, and they didn't do it by themselves, but Caucasians didn't do this by themselves either. You know, I think about the story of Eleanor Roosevelt, who is a remarkable woman. She's one of my heroes. When she heard what happened when Marian Anderson, who's a singer, opera singer during the early 1900s, when she heard what happened when Marian Anderson was invited to sing in the Virginia, D.C. area, and she was denied the opportunity to sing in a certain group's meeting room, a meeting house, Eleanor Roosevelt said, no, I'm not going to stand for this. I will invite her to sing before the people, before the Lincoln Memorial, 75,000 people, and she sang, Marian Anderson sang My Country 'Tis of Thee. So you see that collaboration, you see that blending, and that's what the National Black Home Educators, that's what we do. We find that curriculum that makes us all look good, that gives our children heroes to be inspired by. And I'm just as proud of George Washington. Well, shall I say, I'm just as proud of Frederick Douglass as you are of George Washington. You know, and Little House on the Prairie books, my children were reading those books, every last one of them, by the time they were 6 years old. But they also need to read the books about Addie, who was a little girl. Her family was finally freed from slavery. They moved north. They were starting a new life. Addie started school, and on and on and on. And my children love the stories of Addie. So therefore, there's so much good stuff in the African American culture where our children can feel very, very proud to be in the color that they're in.
Yes.
And also your children, your grandchildren. You know, I want them to know as well about the rich culture that's in, or the heritage that's in the African American culture. And a lot of times this work, if musically, where art is concerned, where poetry and literature is concerned, it's been hidden and it's been invisible. And the National Black Home Educators says, you know, it's not going to be hidden anymore. It's not going to be invisible. We're going to bring these things to the light so that we can all feel excited about being here and contributing, continuing to build a legacy for our children.
That's beautiful.
So that was Joyce Burges, the founder of the National Black Home Educators, and you can find out more about their organization and find resources at www.nbhe.net. So Matthew, what was that like having that conversation with her, and what stuck out to you most about that conversation?
Well, it was very enjoyable, relaxed. We had a great time. I do have to say I would like to try some authentic gumbo at some point. That made me hungry. That was great. She's such a classy lady, you know, and I just love her spirit and the way she talks. And I especially like, you know, her references to history and just the holistic attitude and heart she has about this isn't about one or the other.
Absolutely.
It's about all of us, you know?
Yeah. You know, and I think that's what really stuck out to me as well. And we didn't even really get to touch on this, some comments she made earlier in the interview last week, where she talks about how one of the biggest barriers of African Americans going from public school to homeschool is the fact that our ancestors worked so hard, right? They worked so hard to be a part of this public school system. And the fact that we're now going to pull our kids out almost seems offensive.
Yeah.
Like, What?
can
All
you
of
do
that,
that?
and you're just going to throw that
Yeah.
down the drain.
Right.
So when we, as African Americans, are going against that grain, then we have to give our kids something better. Because even though we've always fought to be a part of the public school system, honestly and historically, we're still underrepresented or poorly represented, and most other non-white minorities are. And so we want to make sure that when we give our kids something at home, it needs to be better. It needs to be empowering. It needs to make them feel, like they're worth it also, and that they're not less. And so I love how she talked about that. Like when she mentioned the stories of Addie, books that I've never even heard of, but my
That's
child
great.
has read Little House on the Prairie.
Right.
And so you do want those stories where they kind of get both. And even though we want something better, I still don't want my kids to have an experience or an education that elevates Black people and puts everybody else down.
Yeah.
And I hope, for you too, that your children aren't only reading about all the white
Exactly.
heroes of America. I can't think about any Native American heroes of America, but we know that there are some, or the Asian heroes that just kind of go unsung. And so I loved when she talked about blending, being able to tell stories and have curriculum and history that makes us all look good, that makes us all feel empowered, that all of our children can take a part of that
Right.
legacy. So I just love that conversation. I love what she said, and that's why I really love what we're doing here now at
Right.
NCHE. Yeah.
And it really speaks to our attitude and our heart, again,
Absolutely.
that we're not trying to separate. We're trying to grow all together and be together in this journey.
Absolutely.
So we're going to continue to say that. We're going to
Yes.
keep saying it because it's so important.
Yeah.
Because when you start talking about diversity, most of the time it goes toward dividing.
Yes.
That's just the common reality, and we're just resisting that
Absolutely.
with all our heart. If it's okay, I would like to introduce Luz on our
Yes.
next part here, and that is the Homeschool Reality Moment. And I was just remembering that this is from last year.
Okay.
This video was the first time I ever saw Luz. She just recorded a video before she ever was on the board or anything about what she loved about NCHE. And we used it to share with people. And so we're going to show you that now so you can get to know her better. This is from last year, but it fits perfectly today. So let's take a look at that.
I remember when I was so stressed and overwhelmed with too much information about homeschooling, and I was around with people that they don't really know about that, so they made me feel sometimes like I was messing my child up, like it's not gonna happen, it's not possible. And then the Lord put in my way a few ladies, like 4 ladies, and all of them, they gave me a little card with every information and every step that they followed to become homeschoolers. And NCHE was there in all of them, which was amazing. When my child turned 7 years old, then I just joined the organization. And I'm happy and glad, and I would say to every mom that I think that's the first step that we should do. The NCHE is like to have the right equipment. Let me put it this way. You will not go and swim or go diving without the proper equipment. That's how I consider this organization. The NCHE is that equipment that we all need as homeschoolers. You have people with experience. You have people that really care about this. You have people that they're going to give you the right information. They're not going to give you just misinformation or jabba here or there. They support you. It's a lot, but it's not overwhelmed as I used to feel overwhelmed when everybody tells you just go and research, just Google it. So when I found out this organization, NCHE, it's really made me feel relaxed. I'm not alone. I am not alone anymore in this path. Because even you can find another moms that are homeschooling, it's not the same thing. When you feel this organization backing you up, I'm sorry. So yes, I love this organization. I trust in what they do. I found what I was looking for, and the freedom, and now knowing that I have this support is amazing. It made me feel more relaxed, more it is possible.
All right, so that's Luz, our new multicultural liaison. When she did that, she wasn't one. So it's so exciting that we're able to minister to her even before we recognized that we needed to do more to reach multicultural families. And so now she's joined to help us do that. And that's so exciting. So we need to pick back up our story from last week. We were telling you about how all of this came to be, and it was very interesting how the Lord was working in our hearts, and we began working together. And one of the last things we discussed is that we did a webinar and ethnic diversity discussion or something, and Luz was there, and T. Essence was there, and I was there, and it was just us talking. And then we worked through some criticism and things like that, and then we said, what's next?
Yeah. And
that's when I mentioned, I don't know how the conversation went, but we talked about the special gatherings at the conference. And you thought of multicultural. You said, how about a multicultural special gathering? And you said, if when I was there, I would have been looking for that in the program.
Absolutely.
And I was and I didn't see it.
Yep.
So families are going to be there looking for that special gathering. And you and Luz helped me host it. And that was another big step forward. And it was at that conference when the board gathered together and I was sharing about what was happening that the momentum for establishing multicultural liaisons sped way faster than I thought. Like it moved forward and everybody was so excited and they're like, let's do it now.
Okay.
And so that was in May. And so through the summer we worked on it. And by the end of the summer, you guys were at the retreat, the board retreat.
Yeah.
And we created it. And then you helped us build what those positions would be doing as well. So what reflections do you have on any of that process, like the conference and stuff?
So the conference was great. I think even backing up a little bit to, like you said, when we did that webinar, which we thought was great, we got a lot of great feedback because we were just talking about our hearts again, what you said, diversity, not division. We just want to be together. And we got that criticism that was kind of like, whoa, like people are really getting upset about that, and having the opportunity to say, okay, we do need to address this, but still do it in love, to still do it gently, but to not back off and say we're not going to do it because people don't like it, because we know we're doing what God has called us to do. So I think for me, that was a moment when I'm like, okay, maybe I can continue doing this, because at this point we hadn't talked about positions, so there was no, is this a long-term thing? We were just kind of moving. And then I think you reached out and said, hey, well, will you guys continue to help, or will you continue to help? And I was like, I don't even know what I would do, But then talking about those positions and just being able to go to that special gathering and being able to work together and see we have the same heart. This is good. Then I'm like, all right, here we go.
Now we got you locked in.
I know, and I love it.
And so we have created a webpage on our website, nche.com. And if you go to nche.com/multicultural homeschooling, we have begun to put together the resources.
Absolutely.
Describing what we're doing, how you can contact Luz, how you can contact TS, and other blog posts and resources. You'll find the link to the webinar we're talking about. And so, I just remembered another thing we should put on there, and is a link directly to the volunteer form. Oh, yes. From there.
Yes.
So we can
Because we need help.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to talk about that even more. But as we're talking about reaching people, it's just losing myself. And I cannot represent all the Black families in North Carolina, and neither can she. But we can begin to help. But we need your help. We need your help if you've been homeschooling for a really long time, or if you just started. If you know great resources or great leaders, great speakers, we need your help, and we would love for you to contact us, to use that volunteer form, to sign up, come to the conference. And this is probably a good segue to mention the conference. So last year we did a special gathering, which we'll do again, but we're also going to have a workshop called the Multicultural Meetup. And this is something that is not done by any organization in North Carolina right now, where multicultural families can go to the conference with the intention of, one, get information specifically for multicultural homeschooling and find people. Again, that's been that biggest challenge of, why am I the only one? Well, you get to come to the NCHE Thrive Conference this year, and you will go into a room full of all different kind of people. And no, this is not no whites allowed. Like white people, black people, Hispanic people,
Asian
people.
Come.
Yes, like everybody come. And let's all finally experience the beauty of the blending of being together. So super excited. That is actually your tip of the week. Come to the conference. Attend this workshop. This meetup is going to be great.
And again, that's May 26th through 28th of this year in Winston-Salem at the Benton Convention Center. Registration is open. So you can go to nche.com/thrive and find out all about it and also register. I want to emphasize, as you said, about asking for help. And I do think it takes a certain attitude and a certain courage to be willing to be the beginning of the change.
Yes.
Hopefully, it's going to be a lot easier for people of all different backgrounds to come and feel at home. And they'll go, look, this is a very diverse place. Everyone's welcome here. But the first people have to step out and say, I'm doing this on purpose.
Yes.
Because I want to help NCHE help everybody.
Absolutely.
And we want to create a community that represents the reality and that allows us to benefit from each other.
Absolutely.
Because we have so much richness in our different thoughts or histories.
Yeah.
The differences are not things that are bad.
No.
They're things that we need and are good. So the more diverse we are, the better our whole experience is.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I want to say again, especially if you have a heart like that and are willing to be some of the first ones, then sign the volunteer form and say, I would like to help. And to essence, it will be responding to you and having that conversation.
Absolutely. And we have Luz for Spanish speakers. She speaks Spanish. So definitely you can contact her. And we can just all kind of get connected, like what you said. I love, kind of going back to what you talked about, Joyce, at the beginning, like wanting that gumbo. We're all get together. Maybe one day we can do like a potluck, a multicultural potluck, a little gumbo, a little red beans and rice, a little
salsa. If there's eating, I'll be there.
I know. So either way, that's just me dreaming. I guess I'm hungry. So another thing we're going to be doing on January 20th, we're going to have a Facebook Live called A Chat with Your MCLs. MCLs is the Multicultural Liaisons. And it'll be an opportunity to get to know Luz and I better, but also to engage with you all to, again, get to know what those needs are and how we can connect and represent with you. So more information will be coming out in the weekly email and will be posted on our Facebook, but that will be January 20th, and it'll be a Facebook Live. So we're excited about that.
That's right. And to give you the website address for the volunteer form again, it's nche.com/partner/serve. But that link will be in our show notes. And we put the notes on nche.com/the homeschool show. And you can see all the links to, like last week when we did all the stats. I have links for all of those. Any of the webinars, the blog posts we talked about last time, all those links will be on there. So you can go, again, to nche.com/the homeschool show and find out more about it. Want to mention again the multicultural homeschooling. So nche.com/multicultural homeschooling, where you can start getting information about that. And so is there anything else on the story? So we added you guys in the end of the summer, and we have the new stuff planned for the conference, like you said. And you and Luz are going to be leading that, right?
Yes, we are.
Speaking, you ready to do that?
We're ready. I'm ready.
Good. And then after this Facebook Live, we're going to be back to, okay, what's next? How are we going to gather more resources and more people so that we can do the best we can at this.
Absolutely. Well, one thing we're going to do is you talked about becoming on the show a little bit more because we're trying to diversify everything bit by bit. Not to always talk about race, but just to be here and to be able to begin to represent. Then, just over time, as the Lord continues to give us some opportunities and wisdom, we'll keep rolling them out and we'll keep going. But our goal here in 2022 is to aggressively do this because this is the work that the Lord has put in our hands. And so we're going to give it all we got. I'm excited about it.
And if you have ideas for these liaisons, for these resources, or if you have any ideas for this show or feedback that you want to give us, you can email us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. That's our email address. And as you know, we also have the segment called the Homeschool Reality Moment. So that's when we get to peek into real homeschools and you kind of show us what's going on there. You can send those also to that email address, thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. We would love it if you would subscribe and share this with others as well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here again.
Absolutely.
We're going to have you back in for another show sometime.
Yes.
That'll be fun. And until next week, please keep homeschooling with confidence and joy.